It was just another quiet afternoon until my phone buzzed with a message no parent ever wants to see. My daughter, standing outside our gated community, scared and confused, texting me that the HOA security guard wouldn't let her in. At first, I thought it was just a misunderstanding. But when I got there and saw the look on her face, I knew it was more than that. The guard stood his ground, arms crossed, refusing to budge, claiming she didn't have the right clearance. What he didn't know: I'm not just a homeowner, I'm a Homeland Security Commander. I tried to stay calm, give him a chance to fix his mistake. But the way he talked down to my kid, the way he dismissed both her and me, like we didn't belong in our own neighborhood, it flipped a switch. This wasn't just about a power trip at a front gate. It was about respect, safety, and accountability. And this wasn't the first time this HOA had crossed the line. As I stood there, weighing my next move, I realized something bigger was happening, something that wasn't just about us. It was about how easily the people we trust with our homes can turn into the problem. You won't believe what happened next, and how fast everything spiraled once I showed him exactly who he was dealing with. Stay with me, because this story takes a turn no one saw coming. A few neighbors started to gather, watching from their porches and driveways. Some looked confused, others just curious. My daughter was still standing off to the side, clutching her backpack, trying to keep it together. She's only 13. She had walked home from school like she always does, used her gate code like normal. But this time, the guard said it was expired, which made no sense. I'd updated all our information last month, but no matter what she told him, he kept blocking her, even when she showed her school ID with our address on it. I started asking questions. Who gave the order to block access? Why wasn't I contacted? But the guard got defensive, saying he was just following protocol. That word, protocol, it's one I hear a lot in my own line of work. Usually, it means someone's hiding behind a rule they don't fully understand. That's when I noticed something strange. He kept glancing toward the HOA office, like he was waiting for someone to step in. Or maybe he was hoping no one would. I've dealt with some complicated situations in my career: crisis response, coordination across agencies. But nothing prepares you for the helplessness you feel when your own kid is locked out of her home by the very people who are supposed to protect your neighborhood. And the more I looked into it, the more it felt like this wasn't just a random mistake. There was something else going on, something deeper. I decided to walk with my daughter back to the gate office, thinking maybe someone higher up could clear this up. As we got closer, I noticed the HOA manager, Mr. Renner, peering through the blinds. The moment he saw me, the blinds snapped shut. That's when I knew this wasn't just a case of a security guard overstepping. Something bigger was going on behind that desk. I knocked calmly at first. No answer. Knocked again, firmer this time. Still nothing. Then I heard the door lock click from the inside. My daughter looked up at me, confused. "Why are they acting like this?" she asked. I didn't have a good answer. I started asking around. A couple neighbors mentioned they'd had issues lately too. Strange gate code resets, random citations, even letters threatening fines for made-up violations. It was starting to feel like the HOA was targeting certain residents. One neighbor told me quietly, "You're not the only one they've tried to intimidate." I asked her to explain, but she just shook her head and went back inside. Back at the gate, the guard was now on the phone. He kept glancing at us while pretending not to hear my questions. I caught bits of what he was saying. "Yeah, he's still here. No, he won't leave." Said something about Homeland Security. That's when I realized they knew exactly who I was. And instead of fixing the problem, they were circling the wagons. Which made me wonder, what exactly were they hiding? The tension in the air was thick. Every minute that passed, I could feel the anger building inside me. This wasn't just about my daughter anymore. It wasn't even just about the disrespect they'd shown us. No, this was about something much larger, something deeper. As I stood there, staring down the guard who was still pretending to be busy on the phone, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being pushed into a corner. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that they weren't just inconveniencing us. They were trying to break us, wear us down, make us question our right to live here. That's when I saw it. Through the glass doors of the HOA office, I spotted Mr. Renner, along with a couple of other unfamiliar faces. They were gathered around a table, talking in low voices. But I could still make out snippets of their conversation. "We need to be careful about who we escalate this to," one of them said. Another responded, "The last thing we need is for him to start digging into our records." My heart raced. They weren't just worried about me. They were worried about something I might uncover. I was on the verge of heading into that office, demanding answers, when suddenly the guard's phone call ended. He looked up, caught my eye, and for the first time, I saw fear in his expression. "I need you to leave," he said, his voice shaky. But I wasn't going anywhere, not until I had answers. Before I could respond, the sound of tires screeching in the distance interrupted us. A black SUV came to a halt in front of the gate, and two men in suits stepped out, walking toward us with an unmistakable sense of purpose. The plot was thickening, and it was clear this was no longer just about an HOA dispute. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. Whatever was happening here, it was much bigger than I had ever imagined. The men in suits approached with an air of authority, their eyes locked on me as if they already knew who I was. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I stood my ground. I wasn't leaving without answers. They didn't even speak at first, just stopped a few feet away and looked me over, sizing me up. The taller one, with graying hair and a sharp, calculating look, finally spoke. "You're Commander / last name, right?" His voice was low, measured. "We've been expecting you." I stared at him, caught off guard. Expecting me? For what? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he glanced at the guard, who was now visibly nervous, before turning back to me. "You've been asking too many questions. You don't want to dig too deep into things you don't understand." I felt a wave of unease wash over me. The tension had escalated to a whole new level. This was no longer a petty HOA issue. These men were clearly connected to something far more powerful. "Why don't you just let me in?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm despite the storm brewing inside me. "What's going on here? What are you hiding?" The taller man's lips twisted into a tight smile. "It's not about what we're hiding. It's about what you're willing to lose if you keep pushing." His words hung in the air like a threat I couldn't ignore. I took a step forward, ready to confront him, but then a voice from behind stopped me in my tracks. "Dad, we need to go." My daughter's voice was trembling. I turned to see her standing a few feet away, holding something small and black in her hand. I didn't recognize it at first, but then it hit me. She was holding a security camera. Before I could react, the men in suits exchanged a look. And in that instant, everything changed. The air seemed to thicken, like we were crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. One of them spoke to the other in a low voice, and I saw the guard at the gate step aside, suddenly no longer a barrier but a bystander. The stakes had just been raised, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for the full picture of what I had just stumbled into. I turned to my daughter, her hand still clutching the camera, and my heart skipped a beat. The men in suits were watching us closely, calculating every move. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "What is it, sweetie?" I asked, trying to stay calm. She hesitated, then walked over to me and handed me the small device. I found it behind the bushes by the gate. It was hidden under some leaves. Her voice was quiet, but her eyes told a different story. She knew exactly what this was about. I turned the camera on, and my stomach dropped as soon as the footage began to play. The first few moments were just static, but then it cleared up. I saw a clear shot of the security guard and two men in suits, just like the ones standing in front of me, conspiring together late at night, whispering about keeping an eye on the commander and taking care of the problem before it gets worse. The words echoed in my ears, and the realization hit me like a freight train. They weren't just protecting the HOA. They were watching me. My family. They knew exactly who I was, and they'd been tracking our every move for weeks. I turned to the men in front of me, my voice trembling with a mix of fury and disbelief. "You've been spying on us? On asterisk me asterisk." The taller man didn't flinch. It wasn't personal. "We're just following orders." "From who?" I demanded. He didn't answer. But as the words left my mouth, something shifted. The man behind him, the one I hadn't noticed until now, stepped forward. "This goes beyond your neighborhood, Commander," he said, his voice cold. "Much beyond. You've already seen too much. But I think you're starting to understand."